Welcome back to this van conversion, and today we're gonna be trying to sort out the ceiling, or at least prepare the ceiling for the subsequent cladding that's gonna come up at some point after that. The ceiling is in this sort of hybrid form, you know, there's insulation missing everywhere, the ribs are not completely done, so
that's what we're going to be figuring out today.
Yeah, and if you see these ribs that we installed, the suspension ribs where we get to hang off chairs, well, the ceiling needs to go around them, so somehow we need to, when we screw in a plank here, we have to then screw it somewhere here as well. So that section is going to be interesting to figure out. So we made a whole video on how we were trying to put up our PIR board installation here on the ceiling, because we were having quite a few troubles of them falling on our heads. So long story short, we tried to stick the PIR board with stick pins. The stick pins proved to be useless. That is not saying that all stick pins are like that, just we got a terrible batch and they're complete bleh. But because we tried to be resourceful and not spend any more money on extra hardware, we just tried to make it work with what we have. So at the end we experimented with Velcro and sealant, and the success rate has been about 70 to 80%. But because of the patch of job that it was, certain areas such as here, like this little section here, mainly the part that's supposed to be supported by the stick pin, has drooped down again. So in this video we're just going to be patching that up as well, because obviously we can't have the insulation drooping when we're cladding up our ceiling. Can you just stick? Please? Now? And you over there, yeah, I see you. Stick! Stop drooping!
Take this contraption.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that'll work. Let's go. So this is finally screwed up, and we're gonna come back to it a bit later when we're cladding up the ceiling. So now we need to tackle this conundrum. So we have our nice suspension ribs. This is the one in the front and we have one in the back. So as we said earlier, we have to put a box around them, because obviously we want them accessible even when the ceiling is on. Because if one were to install their ceiling cladding now with our suspension ribs, so obviously the cladding is either going to go just above or is going to go through the rib, depending on the height that we choose to put them. So we need to build a box that allows us access to this rib to obviously hang the chairs, and also we do kind of fancy hanging and swinging off this area. So that's our objective, to be able to do this. Whee! Because therapy and fun, and why not? Okay. Here is our ceiling wall. Yes, it's a piece of cardboard. No, it's not going to be a piece of cardboard forever. We're going to use this cardboard template to create the, what do they call them? The slits into the ceiling, the cavities here. Essentially, we're going to screw the ceiling into the wooden beam and then into the barrier. That's the gist of today's challenge.
So let's go and cut that cardboard template out of 6mm ply.
We have 4 walls, and we've decided to go with the little feet, and we've even marked out where we can stick feet and where we can't stick feet. So this is like where there's sound deadening, where there's a gap in the ceiling.
So if we stick something here, we can't have any foot here because there's nothing for it to stick onto. We want it to stick this.
And then obviously the sound deadening, we would rather not peel it off if we can avoid it, so...
Yeah.
Yep. And so what we're going to do... grab a few of these. Okay, so if you've watched our window frame videos, you would roughly know what we're going for. But essentially, we need to stick this edge. So we need to stick this edge to the van metal here to start with. So all we're gonna do is just place these here in the designated locations, put glue and a screw through them, and then they're ready to be sealanted up
to the ceiling.
To the ceiling. And then for the ceiling panels, we're going to introduce slightly bigger feet, which are these ones. We're going to demonstrate how these feet are going to work a bit later on when they're actually stuck. Because
it'll make more sense.
Yeah. But anyway, let's just stick and screw for now.
Right, so these are our little walls here. They've been painted and finished off and they're ready to be installed. However, before we install those, we need to finish up our roof insulation. We've got some of these stick pin edges that we need to angle grind down, and also we need to stick the rest of it up where it needs to go. The only place that we won't stick any up is here, because this is where our skylight is going.
For the insulation, the reason that this section has not been done at all is obviously because of the suspension rim, but also because the rib is here, the insulation right above it needs to be 25mm instead of 50mm. So we have chopped the insulation for the section in 3 parts. So how it's supposed to work: one side goes here, then you have the custom walls that we built there, then you have this insulation within those walls, and then you have another wall, and then the rest of the insulation, which is also down there on the pile. Now everything that comes 50mm down, which is basically all of this insulation, the insulation on this side and the insulation on this side, that is relatively easy to finish off with the ceiling cladding. However, here we don't have that much room. So what happens is we put this up, and then you have about this much space to be able to access this bar. So in other words, we don't have enough room here to have an air gap to utilize the radiant barrier, and as such we also need to somehow double up the use of this rigid board to finish off the ceiling. So we thought 4-way stretch fabric, stick it on the PIR board, and it's gonna look neat enough. Any of the imperfections in the PIR board are gonna... Thank you. Any imperfections in the PIR board will be hidden by the fluffiness of the fabric. I don't feel any of the imperfections of the PIR board, and it looks about as normal as over there behind it, you know, so
just need to stick that up now. Up. Now it's time to actually fit the walls into place. So, there it is.
Whew, nearly done. Nearly done, I hope. As soon as you start preparing for the final finish of something, so many little things pop up that you have to do. Like, you think you're done, you're not. You're never done. You're never done. Right, so what has happened? Let me show you. So this is our ceiling. Here we have installed the second cavity for this rib. This is one of the walls. You see that? And then that's the insulation there.
So the cladding will come up like this, right to the edge here.
Yeah.
Like so.
There we are. This is a quick example. Now imagine that along the whole width.
And also in this gap here we've put a bit of fluffy stuff just to fill the gap with some insulation there.
Yeah.
They're nice and secure in. The feet and the sealant all worked, so they're not coming out. And all it has to support is the ceiling, so that'll do.
Yeah. Note to self, do not put anything load bearing on
yeah, we can't. Yeah, even if we put the ceiling up here, we cannot screw something in here. That won't work. That's what this is for. This is the load bearing or semi load bearing.
Yeah. And if you really want to have your weight dangle off, that's why we have these.
Yeah,
anyway.
So we fitted those, and then the other thing that we've done is we fitted these little feet here. So we fitted them all throughout the van across where the PIR board reaches this wooden rib. And basically we unscrewed these wooden ribs and fit them in and then tighten this up. And it straps the PIR boards back so they don't move at all, and they're basically jammed in place. So that does two things. It straps the PIR board in place, but also it ensures that we're going to get our air gap on the ceiling. And that's really important because we're going to be utilizing our reflectix on the ceiling, because that's where we're going to be losing most of our heat since heat rises up.
Now with the ceiling reflectix, we have the choice to use the reflectix that has already come with the PIR board, which in normal circumstances that would usually be fine. However, our reflectix has been bashed up, so obviously a lot of damage there, and everywhere here. Also there's lots of gaps that need closing. Look at that. So our other option is to actually use our spare reflectix right here and basically just stick it up on the ceiling the same way as we did the walls here. Also, at the moment, you can actually see that. You see those shadows, the you know, that sort of crinkling effect. That's water. So that's us breathing out in here, the warm air climbing past the PIR board in these gaps, and then hitting the very, very cold metal ceiling over there and condensing out. So I'm thinking installing a moisture barrier on the ceiling can actually be a benefit, because as the warm, moist air reaches the reflectix, which have been sealed up properly around the perimeter and everywhere there's a gap, so essentially you create a nice moisture barrier. So as the warm air hits the reflectix, then the reflectix that is below the PIR board is going to be a lot warmer, so it's not going to condense at all or as much. So we have spent the morning driving around with the windows open in winter, but we drove around just so we can get a bit of ventilation in the cab to replace the air, because obviously we've been heating the place up, breathing in it, and as you saw, we have some moisture built up. I don't know how much that helped, but it did replace the air in the van, and we did get any excess drips that we could see and get to. So we're gonna just put this up. So I have now started doing so here. You can just come under here. So to optimize the vapor barrier, we're curving the reflectix down to the wall like that, and essentially then we just stick it this way. Okie dokie. so here's what we have. I'm really glad we went with the bubble wrap Reflectix. It makes everything look so much more manageable. Like, see, like the fan almost looks complete now. You can't see any of the construction stuff. Oh, a little bit, but not as much. So to close up the seams, we've used the foil tape right here. So that's attached to the frame and then there, so there's no gap here. And we've closed up the gaps all around. It's probably as moisture proof as a van can be, more or less. I mean, I guess we could spend longer taping. I guess if anything, it just puts a nice positive mental spin on our progress, because it actually looks a bit different now. It looks much more like compartmentalized. There aren't so many things that our eyes have to focus on, like 10 billion notes and stuff. So with the ceiling, there aren't that many things left to do, though I will eat my words very soon, most likely. Just my prediction. But essentially we need to clad it. However, with the cladding comes the positioning of the lighting, so that's something that we're thinking about a bit more. Oh, and before I forget, as of the release of this video, which should be on the 19th of December, I would just like to let you know that next week, as it is going to be Christmas, we have decided to take the week off, so there will be no video next week. And since we release on Saturdays, that means that there will not be a new video until the New Year's. Now, we were thinking for the first Saturday of the new year, which would be, I don't know, the 2nd of January, so we might do a live stream giving you a mid-van build tour sort of update and a bit of a chat. So if you'd like us to do that, then go to the comments below and let us know. And if you have any questions that you would like us to address during the live stream, then leave those down in the comments as well, and we will get to them. So thank you so much for joining us today and this year, and we will see you in 2021, which will be so much better than 2020. Yeah, 2020. I need to say 2022. Okay.